Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first game of The Lion's Share. This is one of three games that are connected, that are happening in the same universe at the same time on this channel. And today we have two players to play this game, Andrew and Anna. Before we begin the game, we're going to have each of you describe who your characters are and as much details as you want to share with everyone.
So yeah, my character is Ken Miles. He's an FBI agent from a law enforcement family, kind of on the roguish side, doesn't really follow the rules that much, and is at odds with his immediate family.
My character is Zoya Sorokina. Simon, what did we decide she was? Because I totally forgot. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You're playing the leader in this of an FBI unit. You're 45 years old, USSR born. You're a shit starter type. You joined the FBI to prove yourself. Your wife is Alicia. And she is an accountant. She's American. Her dad was an immigrant. Your siblings are still in Russia. Your mom is 70-year-old. Your dad is 71 and retired. And you sent them money. They're happy you got out of the USSR. You have two kids. 22-year-old Peter, who has a degree and is a kindergarten teacher, and a 16 years old Natasha, and 12-year-old Marina. Actually, you have three kids. Yep, that's what we had determined about your character. You want me to move that all to your bio and info?
Yeah, that would be great, because I'm like, shit, I know I typed that stuff out and I sent it to you, but I don't remember if it was like over Skype or over a PM somewhere, so I'm glad you had that.
Okay. There you go. I modified your character sheet for that. All right. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's set in 2000, and this story is a lot about very rich people or very important people of that era. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, businesses, and places are the products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. Our story begins with a very unusual murder. Last night, millionaire Adrian Wakefield was shot directly between the eyes in a dark living room of the Swanson Hotel, New York. The last thing our victim saw was the unlit Central Park and the dark buildings beyond. Indeed, Mr. Wakefield was shot during a 5-minute citywide power outage. When the cleaning maid of the hotel discovered the body on the 5th floor this morning and reported it to the police, they called the FBI. Indeed, no security footage caught the killer before or after the power outage. Personnel and clients were interrogated, but all of them were in groups during the blackout, providing alibis for one another. Agents Sorokina and Miles arrive at the scene at 12:32 and inspect the main clue, a handwritten note left next to the body that one of you reads to the other. Which one of you picks it up and wants to have a go at reading it?
I think it should be the fearless leader.
Meaning me?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
The leader role.
All right. Are you guys ready for my Russian accent?
Born ready.
Oh, yes. Okay. So Zoya kind of picks up the note and she kind of clears her throat and she goes, power corrupts. You know it, I know it. The system has failed us. The system has taken our power and given it to the ultra-rich. Hundreds die every day from woes that could be avoided. Any of the ultra-rich could solve hunger and still have enough money to live comfortably. Great, why don't they? Our submission to their rules is not enough to satiate them. What a strange word, satiate. Am I saying it right? And she kind of looks at Ken.
I just shrugged. Go on.
Okay. Why? Right, because they don't care about us. Any of the ultra-rich could give everyone a home and still have enough money to live splendidly. Any of the ultra-rich could finance healthcare, ensure we were all in good health and still have enough money to live comfortably. Any of the ultra-rich could give jobs to everyone who wants one and still have enough money to... Oh, did I... Is that the same thing? Oh, no, now they're talking about jobs. Sorry. To live comfortably, yes. The system has failed the homeless, the sick, the hungry, and the poor. But the system has also failed you. You work tirelessly, and your employment gives you only a fraction of what you produce. The rest goes up to the ultra-rich who own your job. And for what? What do the ultra-rich do with all that money? They lobby for more tax breaks so their fortunes will grow. They give a fraction to charity to give themselves an image boost. They sit on their wealth while their system lets us die of hunger and sickness. Who needs $1 billion? To spend $1 billion, you will need to use $27,000 every day for more than 100 years. How could you need this much money? How could anyone want this much when others starve? It is criminal to own this much. And they make you think if you work hard enough, you can get there too. The richest men make $30 million each day. Then minimum wage is $64 per day. The richest people earn 50,000 times more than the average worker. Do you really think they worked 50,000 times harder? They do not. Oh, let's making assumptions here. Anyways, they work 1 or 2 hours a day, if at all. Again, making assumptions. I mean, otherwise, very good essay. Sorry, I'm getting lost. The woes of the world could all be solved in a month. So why aren't they? Because the system needs these woes. If you do not work to make the ultra-rich richer, you may not work. You will not be able to afford food, shelter, health, education, transportation. Maybe you already can't, even with a job. The woes of the world could be solved. They aren't because fear drives the system. Fear makes the ultra-rich richer and keeps you in place. The solution is simple. We kill the rich, take back our money, feed the hungry, heal the sick, shelter the homeless, educate the people, but then somebody else will be ultra-rich. This is how it works. Sorry. Yes, if we do not, the system will continue. If we do not, the system will pitch us against each other. It already has. Some of us are afraid of losing their jobs to immigrants. The jobs that exploit you to feed the ultra-rich's wealth. They make you fight with others for the right to be exploited. They own all the major media companies. They own all the big lobby firms who convince your politicians. They own your opinions. Your vote does not matter. Your politicians won't get rid of the ultra-rich. None of the ones you can elect offer that in their programs. We must destroy the system so we can regain the power that was taken from us. Kill the rich. Kill the rich because every second they hoard their wealth is another second where people die of poverty, hunger, cold, or of a disease we know how to cure. Again, depends on disease. Lots of assumptions. They let us all die so their mountain of gold can grow taller. Kill the rich. Do you have like a glass of water? Reading that total fucking marathon here. She's like folding up the note.
The policewoman who called in the FBI to join this case arrives and hands you a glass of water. This is her.
Thank you.
She says this wasn't a robbery. No precious objects were stolen, and the safe is still sealed shut. You might be able to crack it and have a look inside, son. This is Clara Abercombe, Ken Miles' mother, who, like the rest of the family, works in the police.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to pretend not to know. Okay. Keep thinking professional, business, not let on that we even know each other.
Okay.
I'm going to examine the body.
Okay.
I'm going to take a good look at the entry room.
What depending on what you're trying to determine, that will be a different role for you.
Okay. Well, first I'm going to just look for powder burn if this was done close up, or if there's an exit wound if it penetrated right through.
Yeah, it punched right through, and in fact, when you turn the head of the body, or when you turn the head around, you can see that the exit wound is straight between the eyes.
Okay. I'm also going to check him for a vest. Because most snipers aim for the chest, not the head.
The chest was not hit, and no glass has been shattered in like none of the windows of the room you're in has any signs of an entry wound.
Okay. Is he wearing a vest?
Yeah, he's wearing a typical suit.
Okay, but not like a bulletproof vest. Yeah.
No.
Okay. We still got all his jewelry, wallet, so obviously not a robbery.
He does have his wallet on him and what looks to be a very expensive watch.
How about a cell phone? And does he have a cell phone on him?
No, it's the year 2000, and having a cell phone was still seen as shady because some of the only people who had it back then were drug dealers.
Okay, so no cell phone.
The TV was on in the background before the blackout, and it hasn't been touched since. It is currently showing a news report of the archaeological find of the decade. A stone tablet depicting Pythagoras' life has been found in Greece 2 days ago, and since Pythagoras never wrote anything, all we know is second-hand information from his students, making this find a goldmine of information for historians. The channel hasn't been changed since the murder victims.
What orientation is the body? Like, was he facing the TV when he was shot?
He was standing and watching the TV was within his field of view, but he was facing directly towards the window outside where Central Park is and the buildings beyond, and he was shot at an angle. The killer must have been like on the stairs above him, so that the bullet is like hasn't touched the window and is like on the floor.
Okay. And was the entry wound from the between the eyes, or was that the exit shot in the front of the back?
He was shot from the back.
Okay. So it came out with the eyes. Okay. So is there something I can roll to see if I can triangulate where the bullet came from? Like get an exact location where the shooter must be standing?
Absolutely. So that feels to me like a science check, and if you have, and you'd need to have a domain like forensics, which I think you do.
Yeah, but I don't have anything in science.
You can still roll. You can still roll as long as you have the domain. You only need to roll a 12 to make a success, and it's a D12 roll. It's a 1D12.
Oh, and I actually don't have forensics. So.
Yeah.
I'll ask Zoya what she thinks. We can. I have no idea what it feels like. But, yeah. So I'll call Zoya over and see what she thinks of where the bullet might have come from.
Mm-hmm. She was currently kind of looking more over the note, but when Ken calls her over, she walks over and she asks, "Yes, did you find something?"
I just wanted to see what you thought of this. Seems that the entry was from the back of the head, came up from the floor between the eyes. And I just wanted to know if you have any luck triangulating the source of the shot.
Okay, I'm just looking to see if she has forensics or science.
I don't think you do.
I don't
it's
think
in the domains. It's right under the skills.
She kind of shrugs and she says, you know, I really can't tell you, but we definitely should get someone over here who can look more at that and pinpoint where that bullet went. In the meantime, I want to send this note off to see if someone can analyze it.
Good idea.
Clara says, you've got better analysts, so it'd be a great idea for you to have them have a look instead of the police's analyst to check out what's inside the note. I've also got the forensics team that are going to try to determine the height of the shooter based on the wound during the autopsy. We'll get back to you on that.
Zoya nods and she's like, "Thank you."
So, any theory as to how someone could have killed this guy in under 5 minutes? Because we're a bit stumped.
If it's someone who is very efficient, but you don't see a lot of murderers like that. However, maybe they knew each other if he had access, or if the murderer had access to the house. But I'm just speculating. What were you saying, Ken?
Just that killing in under 5 minutes, no accomplishment, not cut. So it had to be someone who either had an escape route or could blend in after the fact. So, possibility of someone that you knew. That's my guess, anyway. Based on very little, admittedly. But
If
go ahead.
If the note is to be trusted, this murder seems to be more political than if someone who knew him killed him. He had a lot of enemies due to the nature of his job.
How about the staff? Do you have anyone higher that might bear a grudge?
Probably he was a doctor apparently, British. Ran a lot of articles on how vaccines cause autism. He was the one to develop that theory, and that gave him a lot of money selling his books, but also apparently a lot of enemies.
So he was not very smart in the head. Okay.
He did find a way to get millions of dollars out of it. So I'm not sure if it's a question of being smart.
Oh, I mean, plenty of people who are successful doesn't mean they are very smart. You know, like what they call them, iguana oil salesman. No, is it turtle? The like reptile thing. The what's
Technical.
it? Yes, that one.
I'm going to look for an appointment book for him. Get a rummage through so I can see if I can find any appointment or address, like anything he had upcoming that might shed light on this. Doctors tend to keep pretty good track of time and scheduling. So.
The victim didn't seem to have a lot of appointments this week. The only one that he has this week was this morning with a person called Skiev Johnson. It was at noon, so 30 minutes ago, and the appointment reads an address, and in capital letters, book underlined 3 times.
So get him brought into questioning. See if he can shed any light on to enemies, anyone who could possibly have done this.
Do you want to go arrest? Do you want to go bring him in yourselves, or do you just want to stay on the crime scene a bit longer and have somebody else capture, like bring him to your office?
Stay on the crime scene and have someone else do it. My guess.
Yeah, that would be my vote too. Right. Speaking of which, does anything else around the place look like it's been disturbed? Like, does anything look off?
There does. Okay, so you can go ahead and roll for search. That's in Libra, middle column towards the bottom.
Okay, and do I just click the little dice?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just click the little dice and you put 0 in modifier.
Okay.
Okay. 10 is a failure. So that means your character doesn't find anything particular on the crime scene. If anything, like it feels like there's nothing that was disturbed, and that's a bit off because it's as if there like you don't find any sign of struggle, and you don't find any sign of like breaking in, just like Ken's mother described, like the safe wasn't broken into.
Okay. She mentioned we could take a look at the safe, right?
Yeah, she did, but you don't have the combination to open it. It's locked.
Okay.
You would need someone to roll intrusion to crack it.
Yeah, I'll try that. It's actually
Okay.
got points in that one. So.
All
What
right.
do I put for the difficulty?
For the difficulty, you put -3 because it's a difficult test. But just before you do it, this game has a sort of primes and penalties system where you can select something to give you bonuses. They're used more often in combat. For example, if you take your time, you could take the penalty slow in exchange for efficacy, which would double the time that it takes for you to crack the safe. But in exchange, you get a +3 to your roll, and you'd roll with a modifier of 0 instead of a modifier of -3. So I'm just letting you look at the primes and penalties.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll take the slow modifier for the efficacy and just do it as a 0.
Okay. I'm just throwing it as an example, but like you can there's different combinations that are useful in this. Okay, go ahead and make a roll. Wow, you rolled a 12 with a 1, so that's technically still a success.
Yeah.
Inside the chest, you find a suitcase filled with black protection foam. It is usually used to transport fragile objects like figurines. Here, it protects nothing, but is in the shape of a single chess piece, a pawn.
I wonder if this had something in it before. I will show the evidence to my partner, get her take on it. So what do you think?
It's empty, right, Simon?
Yeah, the chess piece the chess piece object, a shaped object that was supposed to be in there, is not there.
Okay.
Which means that this that basically the safe was locked on a suitcase. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Zoya kind of frowns and she says, sort of strange to keep something, to keep an empty suitcase in a safe. I wonder, maybe the person who killed him, maybe they were able to get in and took whatever was in here, which looks like a pawn, which... Oh, okay. Well, maybe it was, I don't know, diamond or something.
There is... Oh, sorry, I forgot. There's one more thing in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
It's a loosely held together collection of pages with writing on it. It seems like a manuscript. It doesn't have a title right.
So, what language is the manuscript in?
It's in English.
Okay. What does it talk about?
You start to read through it, and it seems to be a sequel to a previous book, and it's talking about an attempt to cover up the information within the previous book by different governments of the world, hiding a big conspiracy to control population through vaccines.
Okay.
I think an episode of The Simpsons covered this once.
There's a good chance.
Oh, is it a handwritten manuscript?
No, it's printed, but there's a lot of places in which the lines have been crossed over and written over, and lots of notes on the manuscript itself, and which are handwritten.
Okay, I'm gonna cross-reference it with the appointment book, see if it's in the victim's handwriting.
It is in the victim's handwriting.
Okay.
And also, the handwriting does not match the note you found next to the body.
So, I once again turn it over to Zoya. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, right now, honestly, I'm not sure. There's a lot of things that don't quite come together yet, and I think I want to still look around the place a little more before we go and talk to our only suspect.
Are you looking for something specific around here?
She kind of wants to take a look if there's any more clues that someone else was in here. And she wants to kind of, because I didn't know about the, what's it called? The primes and penalties. So I don't know if I can make it like take it really slowly.
Mm-hmm. If you want to give yourself a +3, against taking it slow, yes, you can roll for that.
Motherfucker.
You find nothing more than what you've already seen on the crime scene so far.
Okay.
I'm gonna check his phone. You have like one of the digital